you're going to be out there at night fishing or just kayaking, I think the law states that you need to have a white 360-degree light. I think they even mention a lantern in the rule book. It's probably pretty old. But I recommend a 360-degree white light in the rear. Have that on at night. Now there are a few little municipal lakes like Tempe-Town Lake where they require some almost like boat lighting, where they actually want you to have the red and green up front. But for the most part, the white 360-degree light gets you covered from a safety reason. You want to be seen out there. So the kayak fishermen, we do a lot of night tournaments and stuff, so most of us do go above and beyond that for safety reasons and for another reason I'll explain. We'll add some LED lighting, typically, on the sides of our kayak, usually on the front. There'll be an LED strip or white, some sort of light, and you can do different colors. White works. Definitely green. Green is a very popular LED lighting because not only is it illuminating stuff, but it's attracting bait fish. So it's a kind of added plus. But we put the lights on for two reasons. Number one, again, is safety, to be seen. But number two is to also kind of see the shoreline as where we're casting. You don't want to be throwing your stuff on the bank, getting hung up. Beyond that, other safety things, well, this is what I would call safety, is go out with the mindset that you may flip it or an accident could happen. So you're out there with gear and you may have really expensive gear. You may have 4 rods with you, maybe 6, maybe 2, doesn't matter. Those things cost money. Your tackle costs money, your phone costs money, wallet, everything else. Even though you may never flip, go out there with the mindset that you might. So I recommend leashing your stuff down. Making sure you have a leash on your rods when they're not in use. If you got 4 rods, make sure the other 3 are leashed up before you take that 4th one out. Now I'm going to give you a cheap little hint here. Cell phones have been around a long time, plus other things. So I'm sure we all have an abundance of these car chargers, probably sitting in our kitchen drawers, or maybe open up the thing in your console in your car. There's probably 3 old ones in there from the old phones. They make great cheap leashes, even old phone cords. If you remember the old handheld phones or corded phones, they make great leashes. Basically, cut the ends off, get some zip ties or the metal hog ties, fold them over, put you some carabiners on there, bam, got yourself a nice cheap leash, nice and stretchy too. But again, YouTube is your friend. There's hundreds of ideas on how to make leashes and economical ways in the kayaking community. But cheap leashes, go to the thrift store, you can buy a bag of these for $5. You're done. A couple of zip ties, good to go. Keep your stuff leashed. There's plenty of guys on Tournament Trail and Kayak Friends that they have flipped their boats and they write that sad story on Facebook. I learned a lesson. It cost me $600 worth of tackle and gear. It hurts. It hurts. So don't be that guy or woman. But accidents do happen. Accidents do happen. So be prepared. Like I said, go out there with the mindset that it's possible you could get wet. All right, so you're out there, you're safe, you're having fun. Let me stay on safety a little bit longer, I'm sorry. Clothing, wear proper clothing. That's another thing. Go out there with the mindset you might get wet. Wear proper clothing. You don't want to be out there in thick jeans and crazy stuff on, hiking boots and stuff, because if you do fall in the water, you want to be able to swim. You want to be able to make it to shore or at least get back in your kayak. So have some flexible clothing on that you can work with and swim with. Be prepared. Be prepared. You don't want anything bad to happen to you. All right, so you're out there fishing. What's different now between that and a bass boat or any other boat? Really not much. Not much from a fishing standpoint. There's a few techniques that I modify when I'm fishing from a kayak versus a bass boat. I'll give you a few examples. So a popular technique is, and right now it's very popular with the spawn going on, jerkbait fishing. Anybody know jerkbait fishing? No, never did. So typically with jerkbait fishing, they're throwing out that little lure, and they're typically, holding the rod down toward the water and jerking it. So on a boat, your platform is usually a little bit higher. On a kayak, you may be a little closer to the water. So that may be difficult. It may not. Maybe it depends on how short your rod is, how long your rod is. But the key here is adaptability. A lot of times when I'm jerkbait fishing, I just jerk to the side. Instead of jerking straight down, jerk to the side. As long as you're still jerking on slack line, you pretty much get the same result. I just did that technique on Apache last week, and it netted me a second place victory. Or not a victory, but second place. Caught a lot of jerkbait fish. Oh, keep the rod. All right, another technique that you may need to modify. Pitching and flipping. So that's clearly something that people are standing up on. You know, they may be pitching or flipping. You can still do it, and you can still do it sitting down. You just may have to adapt, you know. Adapt your swing a little bit. You're a little bit closer to the water. Just practice. But there's really not a lot of differences between being on a boat and being on a kayak. And as you can see, this kayak's pretty big. And it's like a 14-foot mini boat. So there's not a lot of difference. Now, if you're confined in one where you have to sit down all day, I mean, some kayaks are going to be easier to stand in than others. But if you have one that you have to sit down in all day, there might be a few other techniques that may be a little harder on you. Oop. Like any big swim bait chunkers, fishermen? No, nope, nobody goes for those giant trout baits, looking for the giant bass. That technique is a little bit harder, definitely on a kayak, especially if you have to sit down all day. Because you're chunking those big 5, 6, 8 ounce baits, big long rod. And because you're sitting down, you're pretty much all shoulder. No legs, no torso. So that will wear you out. So you may have to do that one a little less. But it's still possible. There's really not many limits. Any questions so far? No? All right, let's do a trivia for the kids. Oh, wait, we got a question. Best fish story? You want me telling the one where I hooked myself? Best fish story. Let's see. Well, favorite memory. All right. The biggest bass I've caught out of a kayak. I was at Canyon Lake and fishing in the Boulder Recreation Area outside the marina. I was throwing a weightless Seiko, I believe in green pumpkin, and I was throwing toward the reeds and watching the line goes in. All of a sudden I see the line move, boom, set the hook. I'm like, sweet, got a nice fish. All of a sudden, and this is one of the fun things about owning a kayak, I got a sleigh ride. You know what a sleigh ride is? Well, it wasn't a giant bass, it wasn't a state record, but for me it was my personal best. It was 8 pounds and 6 ounces. And that thing moved my kayak. First it moved me out into deeper water, and then as I'm getting it closer, it decided to make another run, and it moves me into the tules. It actually drags me into the tules, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, oh man, this is 6 pound test or 8 pound test line. I'm like, oh, this is a good one. I'm not gonna get it out of that tules, and I'm taking it easy. I had to dig through those tules, but I eventually was able to net it and get it in the kayak. And the gentleman that took my picture that night, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. There's an old security guard that works the Canyon Lake Marina, and I asked him to take the picture because he was walking down the end of the dock. I said, sir, come here. Could you please take a picture of this fish for me? He comes running over there, and all right. So I paddle over to him, give him the camera, holding up the fish. It was a terrible shot. He didn't know how to use the camera, didn't focus it. He just smashed the button, you know how you're supposed to hold it down, let it focus, and it didn't. It was a terrible shot. But that was my best bass from a kayak. I've caught in some bigger fish, but they've been things like stripers, some catfish, carp. Carp are definitely fun for a sleigh ride. If you catch a carp, nice 8, 10 pound carp, they don't do a lot of jumping, but man, they will pull you around. And it's like extra drag for your reel. Just let them run themselves out. It's fun. It's awesome. Can't do that in a bass boat. You're not going to feel that in a bass boat. It's fun to get pulled by a fish. Let me tell you.